Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And today I have another backlog book, and it is called Motherthing by Ainsley Hogarth, and it was a 5-star. It was really interesting. I read it last year for the end of spooky season. I didn't have time to record it last year, but I checked it out on Libby. I listened to it in one whole day because it's a 6-hour book, and it was really cool. It was a great book. Ainsley Hogarth is hilarious. Her writing is peak, and this is definitely like, I have notes, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. It is, in my words, peak 2 or 3-fold strange girl fiction. So I say that because it's like different generations of strange girls. So we have our main protag, Abigail, who is naive and innocent, and she's got some probs, real big problems, like super. She's got some mental issues, and in my opinion, mommy issues for sure. So she has her mother, who was also strange, who was kind of a loopy-doop, and wasn't really there for Abby, so I think that's kind of why she has this childlike, more naive, innocent mindset, because as a little girl, she was like more confused and not raised well by her mom, and her mom brought in a bunch of different guys, so she's kind of got that trauma too. But Abby is married. She's married to a man named Ralph, who is also called Ralphie by his mom, and that makes me want to gag, because I'm like, you are a grown man, you don't need to be called Ralphie. It's a gross name. Stop it. But yeah, so we got Ralph, who's Abby's husband, and then we have Laura, who is the mother-in-law, the monster-in-law, if you will. She's a crazy person, real crazy. She's got borderline personality disorder. And I'm not saying that someone living with that can't be normal, because I definitely think with the right therapy and the right medication and the right people in their life, they can be normal. They can be great, wonderful people. But Laura is not one of those people. She is not wonderful or normal. She is definitely what you think when you hear the term monster-in-law. She is a bat bleep, crazy bleep. Like, seriously, I want to swear, but I'm not going to. But yeah, she's crazy. She ixnays herself very early on in the book, unfortunately. So that's kind of like where we are with that. And then she like haunts Abby and Ralph. And that's basically the whole premise of the story, is that Albie, it's their couple name, Albie. No, I'm joking. Abby and Ralph, they are married. They got married. They've only been married for a year, I think, is what Abby says in the book. And this book really delves into, like, when you question, what is a mom? What is a mother figure? Like, that's basically the whole concept of the book, is what is a mother figure? What is a mother thing? Like, what can be considered a motherly, matronly object or person? And they both have horrible moms, which is so sad to me. I hate that for both of them, because they both have really weird issues. And Ralph kind of goes into a spiral once his mom is like, so that's also kind of sad. He's kind of that weird. If anybody has watched Galatea and Asus, she's a great YouTuber. I watch her a lot. She has a great video on mama's boys and how they affect the psyche of a grown man. And she could definitely have a field day talking about this book, because it definitely goes into that mama's boy toxic trope of like, yeah, the mom is basically in love with her son. And I'm just like, oh, it's gross. What are we doing? It's disgusting. But anyway, so yeah, Ralph has kind of a psychosis break when it comes to his mom's like, offing herself, which is sad. And it's really interesting how Ainsley talks about motherhood and like what Abby thinks is a mother, because she didn't really have a great mom. And then she goes to this weird psychotic place when she's little, and she thinks of this couch that she grew up with. She thinks of this couch as her mom. Her Motherthing is per the title. And it's so interesting how something can be considered matronly because it's warm, or it's made of plush fabric, or it is, you can hold on to it and it feels comforting. It's almost akin to, like, if anybody has seen that little monkey named Punch go around the internet, I'm sure everybody has at this point, but he has a mother thing. He has a mother thing in his little stuffed buddy. So it's interesting how, like, this is an example, like little stuffed bears or stuffed monkeys or anything like that is seen as matronly or motherly. Like, it's comforting. A mother is supposed to be comforting. That's one thing that Ainsley goes into, is that a mother should be comforting. She should be warm. She should be inviting. And that couch for Abby was warm and inviting. And it's like she would stroke it and it would make her feel better. And it made me sad listening to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And it's also like, how do people cope with bad mothers? And that's one way to cope, is to hold on to an inanimate object and be like, this is my mother comfort figure. This is my comfort thing. This is what I'm projecting, my thoughts of what a mom should be. And it's so interesting how people can get so messed up from their parents. And this also goes into fathers and mothers, but this book is just mainly about the motherly perspective. And there's also another character, because Abby is she's an old person's home nurse, and she's a caretaker for someone named Mrs. Bondi. And Mrs. Bondi is such a sweet and loving person, and she is really Abby's mother figure in this book. And Abby is like imagining fantasies in her head of being her daughter. She wants to be Mrs. Bondi's daughter. That's her whole motivation in the book, because they want, Mrs. Bondi has a daughter named Janet, and Janet wants to move Mrs. Bondi out of this old folks' home because it's too expensive. And that part really gets me, because it's like, you don't want your mother to be comfortable. You don't want your mother, the person who gave you life, to have a good end of her life naturally. And because Abby takes wonderful care of Mrs. Bondi. She's so attentive to her. She spends time with her. She does things with her. It's so cute watching them interact. It makes my heart hurt how Janet is so cold and edged and rough-edged. And it makes you wonder, how is Janet like that if Mrs. Bondi is so caring and nurturing towards Abby? But it's kind of like revealed how maybe as someone gets older, they become softer, and how when they were younger, they were sort of like more rough, and they weren't soft. It's like how, I don't know how to explain it, but it gives the reader perspective that maybe Mrs. Bondi wasn't a great mother to her own daughter, but she's trying to be a good mother to this stranger who views her as a mother. And goes to show that when you get older and you realize you don't have as much time left, maybe you want to repent and be softer and be nicer to people, because you weren't nice to those who were close to you to begin with. And it's really interesting because Janet seems to think that Mrs. Bondi is a horrible person. She says she was a horrible mother. She says she was slightly emotionally abusive, I think is what she was saying. And then this book is sort of like a fever dream to me. That's why it's like strange girl fiction, in my opinion, because it's sort of like bends reality, and it bends what you think is happening versus what's actually happening. It's just really weird because Janet ends up getting sacrificed. And I will let you determine what that means, because at first I didn't know what it meant. I was like, wait. What are we doing? Sacrificing? What are we talking about? This book is just really funny. I would recommend reading it because it's not that long. A 6-hour audiobook is like maybe 300 pages. It's not that long. I would recommend reading it. And it's really good, so it would keep your attention. But yeah, I wrote down that Janet is sacrificed for the sake of healing Abby's marriage and her husband's mommy issues. And the ending is really a big trip. I will not spoil it because it's such an interesting ending. And that's kind of where I'm like, what is going on? And I'm kind of questioning, like, what is Abby's reality versus what is the reader seeing as reality? Because Abby is kind of an unreliable narrator in a sense. And I really enjoy unreliable narrators. I really do. Those are the best kinds of narrators. So this book I gave it 5 stars to my tastes. It was very funny, very interesting. It kind of hit all my itches that I have in my brain. And I really loved the psychology behind it and how we view mothers as a society and what is considered motherly, what types of objects could be considered comforting or motherly. And I don't know, it just has some really great discussion points. And this is going to be kind of a shorter video. Last week was a longer video, but yeah, those are basically all my thoughts on Motherthing by Ainsley Hogarth. I'm going to read more from her because she's really funny and her writing was great. I enjoyed it. I think if you like someone who is sarcastic, witty writing, I think you'll really like her. And obviously if you like strange girl fiction, she's your queen right here, because this was top tier strange girl fiction. And I don't know what prompted me to want to do a video about this, but I don't know, I was listening to the Lila Rose podcast, and I guess that kind of got me thinking about motherhood and what's considered motherly, what is a mother in terms of like having a baby and stuff like that. It made me think of Motherthing, basically. And like, how do we, as a society, view mothers and stuff. And I think Motherthing was a really great commentary on how mothers are viewed. And I think you'd really enjoy it if you enjoy strange fiction like me, like I do. But thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I hope we can have some chats in the comments about Motherthing or about more Christian book reviews or Christian book recommendations if someone has something like that for me. But anyway, so I'll see you next week. Bye, friends.